All right, welcome back to the War Room. I'm here with Alec. Karsten is MIA tonight. Duty calls, I guess. But our duty calls, we've got to give you guys a finale preview for round 3 because we missed you for round 2. We had to travel over to Texas, Karsten and I, along with some other guys in our squad, to go all the way down to Dallas to sweat our balls off for 4 hours because we love this sport so much. We'll talk about this in a minute, but why that wasn't a night race is beyond me. I kind of know why, but it's not an excuse. That's why I still question it. But we got to start off with some breaking news here, guys. Number one, RJ took a dirt nap at Texas, and the homie had already aggravated his wrist from the first round of SMX playoffs when he crashed into basically dirt and concrete in that rhythm section when he got a little cross-threaded. And so the homie's banged up big time. Not sure if it's if he's sitting out for any kind of like shoulder stuff or if it's more concussion protocol. That really wasn't explained that well. But he is out for the third and final round of SMX, along with Chance Hymas, who announced that he was going to be sitting out the last 2 rounds of SMX briefly before Texas, after saying that he re-aggravated his knee that ended up being a torn ACL. Well, I mean, it's already been torn since the week before the first round of SMX, but he's been riding with it, and it's one of those things that sometimes you just dab a foot wrong. It can go one of 2 ways. It can just hurt really bad and be inflamed the rest of the day, and then you can just baby it until it kind of stops being so inflamed, or it goes south. And in this case, it kind of went south, but I think it'll be good for the long term. He's finally getting it dealt with. I think it's very commendable what he's been able to do on, one good ACL for literally his entire season so far. But yeah, I was almost wondering if he was even going to do SMX to begin with to give himself enough window to get that taken care of and be ready for. I'm guessing if he makes an opening round at all, he's going to have to race East Coast. But so we'll see how that works. He's getting surgery on the 24th. So that also means, this is the bigger news, he is out from Motocross of Nations because of the fact he has to get that operated on. They were planning on just dealing with it and not getting the surgery. So that's changed. And in place of him, not Levi Kitchen, no Hayden Deegan, Cooper Webb. Daddy Webb back on 250. What are our thoughts?
Man, I'm excited. I like any time that these guys kind of mix it up, especially in Ken on the 250.
That was fun.
Man, I mean, I'm just excited. I mean, it's a different bike, different atmosphere. I mean, Webb's been there before, but not in a long time on a 250. So I'm excited.
Yeah, since 2016 was the last time.
Yeah,
and different bike, but same rider with that same dog in him. And we talk about Webb. All we have to do for him to win is just doubt him. That's all we got to do.
Right.
So, we're just going to get Karsten out here, and we're just going to have him next episode just say, hey, Cooper Webb ain't going to do it. So that way Webb will get it done.
Right.
So that'll be interesting to watch. Justin Cooper also fractured his collarbone last weekend at Texas. Homie went down hard. So I have heard that he is with apparently it might just be a hairline fracture, but a fracture nonetheless. He's going to try to ride at Las Vegas because I guess money talks and the doctors ain't talking loud enough. But the homie Cooper is going to try to line it up. Huh?
He's got to pay those doctors' visits.
Yeah,
Las Vegas.
He's just sitting there. He's like, look, insurance is already going to cash a big check. I can get a bigger check if I go win this millie, which he is not winning the million, but he can probably get a nice little, $50K, $60K payout. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with him. But yeah, so that's kind of the breaking news there. Now on the rumor mill, which I guess is kind of breaking news, I have heard from very reliable sources, aka complete rumors and random posts on Twitter, which in the world of motocross, literally it's like 95% probable at this point. If it's posted on there and if there's a half decent graphic, it's like it's going to happen, right? But what I've heard is that Triumph is going to have Jalik Swole back, and they're going to have Austin Faulkner and Styles Robertson making up a 3-rider lineup, which if that is true, if half of that is true, I'd say that's a major upgrade from having Jalik Swole and Evan Ferry, especially with what we kind of saw, how things play out. I don't think Evan Ferry's a bad rider, but I don't think he's the person you want to be swapping into a new factory machine with a lot of testing and everything. He didn't look bad, but obviously he didn't work out in the end. I think there was some personal stuff going on with that as well. But so before we kind of recap Texas and then get into the playoffs, this is the one thing I wanted to see what your thoughts were on. What are your thoughts on? I think the bigger thing here is Faulkner leaving the Pro Circuit 250 team and leaving Daddy Mitch Payton.
Yeah,
not his actual dad, but might as well be at this point.
Shit.
Potentially finally getting off the Pro Circuit Kawasaki practice track that was apparently built over an Indian barrel ground, because everyone just keeps getting hurt, and either that or just throwing away championships. I mean, they went 2 for 2. I mean, McAdoo and Levi Kitchen came together and both threw away their championships by knocking each other out. So what are your thoughts on that potential move for Faulkner? Do we like the move? Do we think they're going to have that bike for him to be just as competitive?
Yeah, I think the best thing to come from it is the change for Faulkner. I mean, look, he was on the Super Mini on Team Green. I mean, he's always been on the green one. I mean, besides, I mean, he probably rode a Cobra, but after that, he was Team Green all the way. So I think maybe the switch up. Right? Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, just same kind of prodigy guy. And, I think the switch might be good. Will he be the Faulkner that comes back from injury and just steals the championship and has a great season? Not totally sure. I'm not doubting him because I definitely think he totally could. But I think the switch up's going to be good. He hasn't completed a professional season with those guys. Maybe just it's a refreshment too. Get over there, finish one season, get 15th place in the season, finish the season out. I think that should be, and I think would be probably top of one of his goals.
Yeah, and the one thing I haven't seen a ton of, considering it's a new bike, and I could be wrong here, but I think I've seen more mechanical issues, especially outdoors, than I have seen like riders getting bucked off of that thing. And maybe I need to go back and watch some more film, but I feel like I would have been a little more alarmed. I feel like that's something I would have caught looking at this, because I think we had our eyes pretty close on that Triumph bike, especially in the Supercross season. Mm-hmm. And really the main things I saw outdoors were just mechanical failures, specifically like apparently Joey Savacci's bike is just cursed.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I didn't see very many issues besides, hitting your helmet on the dirt from Jalik Swole. I didn't see a bike blowing up, pulled off the track issues. I only saw that with Savacci. So maybe something the clutch doesn't have enough or thick enough oil, or just getting overheated, or who knows what it is. And he might ride the clutch harder than Jalik, but I think it's still a little too early. Now they're definitely taking that back to the van or to the semi and working on that and figuring that part out. But I think the bike looks good, man. I think they just need a solid base, solid team, and those results will come.
Yeah, and I think the speed's there too, especially indoors. Now, outdoors, I think there's still maybe a little bit of power to be desired. But I think overall, I think they had a solid bike. I mean, Jalik put it on the podium. So, I mean, honestly, it kind of went honestly, if you just swapped out Savacci for like any other just mid-tier factory rider, and not Savacci in his case, where he like all he trained for was motocross, but I think he was the only real disappointing thing other than the Evan Ferry thing. Which I think that had less to do with the bike and more to do with just the situation with Evan Ferry and more personal stuff. I'm not 100% certain. But I think, and to be fair, Evan Ferry did get face planted and pile drived into a wall. Freaking carnage. So I mean that is fair. He was out for a while, but I think they have a solid bike there. I think as far as just raw performance, I think they're in a better spot than Beta was coming out. And that's weird to say, because you have to do a lot more in a 250 to be able to get that power, especially
Right.
at a factory level, right? I mean, you look at someone like a Ty Masterpool last year, purposely, when he lost his factory ride, he purposely was like, well, it's a lot cheaper and a lot easier for me to run a 450 privateer program than it is 250, because you ain't got to pay to get the power. You just got to worry about your rod, your suspension, all that
Right.
stuff. So it's weird that the company that had to do more seemed to do better than Beta, who was now granted, I mean, 450s behave differently, but and they had injuries, yada yada yada. But I just thought Triumph would have a rougher start than they did, and there was rough starts, but you got a podium in each category except SMX so far. So I mean, I think they got to walk away happy, especially Jalik. I think this is Jalik's best season, in my opinion. Well, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think. I mean, he didn't win this season. I think he did last year. He won one race last year.
Oh, maybe he won an outdoor or
an outdoor race.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right.
So like I think it was more consistent. You know, the highs were probably higher last year when he did win that outdoor race, but I think, man, you're working towards getting more consistent, and you know, anybody's goal is to be a podium guy. I mean, everybody's goal is probably be to hold the top step of the podium every weekend, but you know, that doesn't always happen. Maybe once in a while with the particular individual, but
yeah, everyone's goal right now is to try to take the head off of Hayden Deegan, which did not happen this last weekend.
He was my cell too.
Oh man, I mean, all that crap y'all talked about him, man. But I mean, it was just crazy. He was pretty much one of the only guys that was consistently turning that it wasn't the finish line into the triple, but that, you know, parallel to it on the other side of the track. That it was after the sand section. Yeah, like well, he was doing two things. He was getting over that kind of double with the lip on the end of it. If you land on the lip, then it makes it a triple kind of. He was the one that was consistently on the 250s making that a triple and landing it smooth. Other guys were able to do it at the start of the race, and then towards the end were not. And those that were doing it weren't hitting as cleanly as he was. He was getting so much traction upon landing. The only other guy that hit it as well as Deegan that I saw was Sexton in Moto 2, which we'll get into, and then Tomac in Moto 1. They just killed it. And then I heard, I don't know how I didn't notice this because I was watching, but I guess my eyes were just towards the second through fifth so much because I was just seeing if anyone could catch him. But I somehow missed the fact that he was going 3 in on that rhythm section, which was so hard to do on a 250.
Right. And
I heard incredible performance by him.
Right. I heard that 450s, that the outside line was easier to do it, but that outside line swung so wide that it didn't make any sense. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Deegan was kind of pushing the inside line wide a little bit, but was hitting the triple out. I mean, from the middle line.
Like I said, I for whatever reason, I watched plenty of them. I mean, heck, I mean, every time I would just go look at, okay, he's about, half a mile ahead of the pack. Okay, now let's go back to where everyone else is. But for whatever reason, I don't have a vivid memory of exactly what I saw him doing in the rhythm section because I heard about him going 3 in and doing 3.32. But I just don't remember seeing a ton of it. I felt like I just somehow just wasn't seeing it. I don't know. But like I said, this was actually at the top of my notes for talking about me and Karsten's visit Texas Motor Speedway this last weekend. Hot as balls. I mean, we got there and, you know, I was ready to go. Okay. You know, I'm a pale boy. We had our sunscreen on. Okay. I used to be tan. Then I went to engineering school. That changed everything. So I was ready to go. Have a bucket hat, you know, had all my shirt on and everything. We're good. We're solid. Right. And we get there. I was like, oh, I got sunscreen on for nothing. It's freaking 84 degrees and overcast. We're good. We're good. The sun was not visible. I was like, this is fantastic. And we waddled around the stadium for a little bit, you know, got our snacks or whatever. And I was like, all right, well, let's go down to the pits for an hour before we come back up for the main. Weather's great. It ain't even that hot. We're fine. I kid you not. The moment my foot hit the concrete of the oval track, it was like Jesus just parted the clouds, just right there. So, open the curtains. And by the time we even got to the pits, when walking around the oval, we were just sweating buckets. I mean, everyone was just seeping through their shirts. It was miserable, but still fun. But it was so hot. It was to the point that we were lucky that our seats were under the cover on the second level. Thank God, because even being under the cover, we were still sweating like actively the whole freaking time. It was insane, and it wasn't even that humid. That's the weird thing. It's not like it wasn't as humid as Houston. Like I didn't feel like I could like grab water out of the air. It was insane.
Yeah.
But I will say, other than the fact that this should have freaking been a night race for that reason, it should have also been a night race because of the fact that everything looks cooler at night. If this is a playoff series, do it at night. We talked about this earlier when we previewed this whole series. I think all three of these rounds should be at night. And the excuse I heard from the insiders that talk with the track guys was that the speedway lights create shadows that make seeing the ruts and everything very, very difficult. And I was like, you know what? That's kind of a valid point. That's safety. Mm-hmm. I get it. But you know where we do this every year with speedway lighting? Daytona. And before that, twice a year in Atlanta. And last year we did it at Chicagoland. And I heard about the shadows. But at Daytona, I've seen them like put up auxiliary lighting on the other side of the track, get double angle. Do that. I mean, I mean, this year at Daytona, I didn't hear that much complaints about shadows because they were doing that. So, I mean, you gotta pay Bubba to go get out some generators and pop up some lights. You freaking do it, okay? Where you're in Texas in September, guys. Like, good, dear heavens, it was just come on, guys. You got a great idea. You just gotta, and it was great. It was a great event. Even though I probably lost 5 pounds in sweat, which honestly, pretty good benefactor there. Yeah. But, because your boy had a lot of food that weekend. Okay, we were balling out in Dallas. It was great. We had a 30-inch pizza after this, so I definitely need the sweat. Yeah, it took 4 of us to down that thing. I'm getting off track, but just do everything at night. Okay, if this is your premier deal, make it premier. And the other thing that they shortcut, the dirt. The dirt was a huge issue. I think who gives a crap about shadows if you're riding on what's basically concrete? Right. The Dallas Supercross dirt at that when they do it at AT&T, Carson and I were just there last February. I think you were there too. All the riders love that dirt. A lot of the times they call it the best dirt of the season. And it does create great racing too, and it even creates unpredictability because sometimes it can get hard packed in some areas, and sometimes it's super tacky in others. But overall, it's very, very high quality. It would have cost them, I think, an estimated. I heard a spitball of 160K to move the dirt from whatever location they got it from to that stadium. Freaking do it! Yeah, because what they did was they just dug a hole inside the infield, and that was the dirt they used. Just what do we do?
I didn't hear that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and like the Dirtworks guys, the morning of qualifying, were already like, yeah, we're having to water the piss out of this, and we just know it's inevitable. But once the sun comes out, and qualifying's over, this is all just going to harden up and pack up, and the top layer is just going to turn to dust if you try to dozer it and loosen it up. So they all knew that they had one of the crappiest dirt qualities as far as the tracks to go up. So it was so slippery. You watched Master Pool come down like you would on any kind of a over under with a left-hander coming out of it, like you would on any other Supercross track. And that thing, you would have thought the Mario Kart banana peel was thrown right under it. So that's just Exhibit A. And I also think that U-turn, I mean, I got to call it a U-turn because they also had the one thing that frustrates me: no bowl turns. Okay, no. I mean, or there's nothing close to a bowl turn either. So it's just rut cross at that point. which you can do if you have better dirt. It all comes back to the dirt. Anywho, it all comes back to the dirt. Don't do shortcuts next time. Everyone's going to think that it's like Texas is the reason that this round in Texas had a lot of like shortcomings. No, it was just bad decisions. Get better dirt, do this freaking thing at night. And bro, I mean, for all of those things, the stadium was still pretty freaking packed for an SMX race. It was there was a lot of people there. So just imagine if they did it at night.
Right.
And imagine how much better the riders would feel about it if it was at night and you had good dirt. I mean, anyway. All right, I'm done with my rant. But I have to say, even with all that fantastic event, if there's an SMX back in Dallas next year, I will. And if it was all the same, I would still freaking go. Really, really cool. So let's talk 450s. In regards to, we'll talk about Texas just a little bit more because I have a couple more things I want to get your reaction on, and then let's preview this finale.
Let's do it.
Craziest thing that I heard: Cooper Webb said he found something in the bike, and look, he got was it a 4.5 or a 5.5 or something like that? I think he got a top 5 overall.
Yeah.
His apparent secret sauce was he ran Supercross forks, motocross shocks, and a Supercross chassis. The dude just made a Supercross sandwich. Just what I mean. That's just and I wonder how many other people are doing this too. Yeah. So as the one who rides the most out of all of us, and by me, I just mess around on 4-wheelers. I don't even mess around on 2 wheels anymore. How?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have the luxury that these guys do. I just run my stock forks and take them to J&M, get them tuned up. But that's about it, man. I run what I brung and pray it's enough.
Okay. And you know what? Like none of us, I don't know if any of us are going to have the luxury in our lifetime to be able to switch between chassis and just go.
Right.
Looks like a Supercross chassis day, Let's do it. Wheel it up. Like it's exactly. Just wild. But that's the games they got to play with these tracks. They're throwing so much different stuff at them. Mm-hmm. And this was another big, just like, what the heck is going on here? Eli Tomac ran the scoop tire for both motos on this type of track.
That's crazy.
And he did the same thing in Charlotte.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he must just vibe with it. To me, it's like riding on that blue groove and that concrete. Like, that to me is you would want the MX-33, the Dunlop, like just a regular knobby tire. Now, the scoop tire seems like way less sidewall traction, especially with no bowl corners. Like, you can't really lay into it and get on the edge. Like,
you'll get a lot of angle,
Right. Yeah, I don't know. But he did good. It worked out for him. I mean.
Yeah, he was a beast in Moto 1, dude. I mean, honestly, the other 3 races between 250 Moto 1 and then the second set of motos for both classes were kind of a snooze fest.
Right.
But that 450 Moto 1, I mean, that might have been the best main event moto we've seen all year. I'm not 100% certain.
Agree. No, I don't. I wouldn't say that's a hot take. I mean, it was a great race. I mean, those are the top 5 guys in our class, 4 guys in our class, and they were battling back and forth. I mean, it was like It was
the only other similar scenario I can think of was the Dallas Heat 2, I think, for 450s, where you had Jet, Tomac, and Malcolm swapping, or was it Jet, Anderson, and Malcolm? Or maybe Plessis.
Yeah, I don't think Tomac was. I don't think.
Oh, Tomac was in a separate heat race. I think he won his heat race that night. Was it?
Yeah.
Anderson, Cooper. I don't know. You had Jet, Malcolm, and somebody else, all 3 swapping for the lead, but that was a heat race. So
yeah.
But that was the only other time we've seen like a 3-way battle with the guys that close like that. So I think that was the best. I mean, you had Tomac and Hunter and Jet all just trade spots. I mean, you really can't ask for anything else except that's a Chase Sexton fan for Chase to be in there. And he was nowhere close.
No, but he did sling it.
Oh, bro. That Moto 2 was like the first time through this SMX series I was like, we're back, baby. There's hope. Which that's the bad thing is now I have hope. So, speaking of which, just like when I saw Mookie get P2 in that heat race, I'm like, oh, there's hope. And then I watched Mookie get taken out from Dylan Ferrandis tipping her over right in front of him and running into him. So,
yeah,
I think my heart's just ready to get broken again, but we're here for it.
We're here for it.
Yeah. Other than that, I think we pretty much cover. Oh, the only other anomaly from that weekend was the Lawrences ran an off-road tire on the rear wheel, which I didn't even think was an option. I thought you just had
I didn't hear about that.
You had the knobby, like just a regular MX tire, but apparently they ran an off-road tire, like basically what you would use in like GNCC on the rear wheel.
I'd have to look.
I don't even know what that's going to do. Yeah,
is that like a Scoop MX-33 hybrid? Like, is that an in between, or is this like a custom tire? Because these guys cut their own knobbies anyways. Like, I don't even know.
You would know way more about this than me, brother.
I'd have to look at pictures to be able to tell.
This is why I love anything in the SMX, Supercross, Motocross, and now this SMX series. In F1, all the tires have to be within regulation. Okay. If someone uses a compound that's without the 3 that we've personally selected for them, they're going to get a penalty. They're going to get disqualified. Okay. And then, over in Super Motocross, Jet's running, I think, a off-road tire. What?
It's got bumps on it.
I think I had one of those when I was riding through the woods last on my trail bike. I mean, when I was ripping the 2-stroke. I mean, is that what he's – and we don't even know. Like, we don't even know. Yeah. And it's legal, apparently.
Yeah,
so
I guess.
I love as someone who watches just about every motorsport, I love, like, Supercross is just and Super Motocross is just such a breath of fresh air of just, like, every now and then some good old redneck engineering. And that's just what you need to see. Yeah. Okay. So let's get into these previewing the finale. Now, the finale is going to be at Vegas. And, Alec, you are going.
Yes, I sure am.
So what section of the track are you going to be closest to? What are some key features you're looking at seeing? What are you most excited for with the Vegas environment? And is your liver going to be intact before the race starts?
I'll go backwards on these answers. So yeah, okay. I hope my liver will be fine. I assume it should be, as long as I keep hydrated. Man, I'm just excited to be back Supercross, or Super Motocross, Super Duper, whatever you call it, just back racing in Vegas. I think Salt Lake's great, but it's just not Vegas. I mean, that's like,
exactly,
there's always just it had its own aura, and so just stoked to racing's back in Vegas. Man, we've got pretty good seats. We get to do the track walk. So we did the Lawrence experience. So we're gonna do the track walk, and in their booth, hang out with them, and then I think it's one of the better sections for seats. I know that it's all grandstands anyway, so it's kind of like
nice.
We're kind of in a solid spot. We kind of see everything. I saw Dirtworks post a video this morning about just the view of the track from the grandstands, and it looks, if we're anywhere remotely close to the top, I mean, we'll be able to see everything. So
yeah, the track design looks awesome. Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. And hey, on the 450 side, you're going to get to be present for the first ever 3-way winner take all scenario that we've seen. I think last year was a 2-way winner take all between Chase and Jet, and then you had Kenny that had an outside shot at it. Right. Because outside of that, your next best competition was Cooper Webb, who was in his dad bod phase, and we're not going to talk about that. So going into the current points right now, believe it or not, Hunter Lawrence is in the lead right now with 90 points, followed with Chase Sexton being 1 point behind, and Jet Lawrence being 8 points behind Chase at 81 points. And then you got a pretty big drop off with Tomac at 69 points. You can't even write that. This is hilarious. And then the Cowboy, Aaron Plessinger, despite, I think, and look, we know he's injured because he got completely, just rammed and just completely yeeted off his bike at a practice start before even Charlotte began because Cooper Wedd said, I turn now. Good luck, everybody else. and hit Malcolm, and then Malcolm careened into hit, and it was like 8 guys piled up there before we even got this whole thing started. And AP got the worst of it. He's got some kind of a shoulder deal. MRI was taken this week to just make sure there wasn't anything, and that it was just maybe bruising or just something that he can continue to go with. And he's put out a post saying he's going to be back for the finale. So whatever it is, it's not going to prevent him from riding, but we know it's affecting his riding. So I'm very, very shocked to see him still 5th. And even more importantly, only 7 points behind Tomac. I thought AP would be closer to like 8th, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, that makes up your top 5. That's kind of anyone who's relevant. I mean, Kenny's at 58 points, but I think he at best he's looking at maybe getting into the top 5. But yeah, let's discuss this three-way winner take all here, because there's not much to talk about when it comes to the 250s in regards to who's going to win it, unless Deegan just completely just foobars it but we'll talk about that later. So when you're looking at this three-way winner take all, we've seen like good flashes of everybody at this point, right? Like Chase Sexton. Well, I mean, heck, we can even bring Tomac into the conversation. We saw Tomac Moto 1 at Charlotte looked fantastic. We were like, oh my gosh, Daddy Tomac is back. Like, this is like Toby Keith. I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm good as ever was. And apparently it was just once, because then he held off Jet for a while and then, lost to him narrowly in Moto 2. And then we saw Jet in Moto 2 at Charlotte dominate. Fantastic. And then over in Dallas, we watched Hunter get his first overall with a 1-3. And wow is all I have to say.
Yeah.
And then we get a dose of hopium for me with Chase Sexton. I mean, just gapping everybody in Moto 2 at Dallas. I don't think I've seen someone put a gap on Jet that big since Hangtown, when he completely messed up his shoulder and took a dirt nap for a little bit. And was riding with like half his body. So when you're looking at this kind of scenario where you've got 3 and really 4 guys that have all showed that in this format, in this playoff so far, just in 2 rounds, that they can be the best guy at some point, man, I mean, what is your first thoughts of these main players for this championship here, and particularly the 3 in the winner take all scenario?
Yeah. Well, huge props first to Hunter. I mean, I didn't think he could do it being in the shadow of his little brother, but he did. He stepped up. He had a great race and he looked awesome. Now for these guys, man, I like you were explaining earlier, I mean, they've all had flashes of being able to just go in and win it, and whether that's, a 1-2 or a 2-1, however they do it. I mean, each guy, has pretty much won a race. So it's just exciting, man. I think like going in winner take all, it's going to be a battle. If Chase can get that whole shot, just be gone up front, I don't think these guys can. Like James was saying, and Weege in the booth, it was like he's just a different rider up front. He's like, he just gets going and then he's gone. So if Chase can do that, if Jet can keep him close, or if Jet gets an early lead, Jet's great at managing the lead. So there's all kinds of different scenarios. We could talk about it all night, but I think it's just going to be exciting, man. All these guys show that they can do it and they want to do it and they will do it. So, that's just going to create great racing. So
let me follow up with the main question everyone's been asking about Chase lately, which is, and this has really been since the motocross season of last year, is do you think Chase has a mental deal with when he's riding behind Jet? Because he just seems to be able to pass everybody else pretty easily, unless there's some kind of outside factor. But if he's making a charge towards the front, he seems to be able to pass a lot of other people without too many crazy problems if he has pace, but he can have all the pace in the world to catch Jet, and sometimes it just seems like he can't even throw a wheel on him. So do you think he has some kind of a mental block when it comes to trying to not just catch but pass Jet? Or does it come down to more him starting up front in general? And it's not necessarily more Jet. It's just, hey, if he has a clean track in front of him, then it's all bets are off. Or the last factor could just be, and Chase has been saying this in an interview, is just like, hey, like in our outdoor setup, we really found something, especially suspension wise, and we were hoping for it to apply that knowledge to our Supercross setup, which is kind of what they're running here. And it really hasn't translated, but we somehow managed to find something at Texas. Now, granted, how you managed to find anything at the crappiest track in regards to quality, I don't even know if you want to keep what you found. I mean, it worked for that second moto, but I don't know if you want to keep that. So that's my little red flag there. So with all those three different little things of what could be some of his major holdups with Jet specifically at Supercross, what do you think plays the most into this debacle with Chase when he's riding behind Jet?
Yeah, I don't think it's any kind of confidence issue with Chase. I don't think when Chase sees the number 18, his cheeks tighten a little bit more and his hands grip a little tighter. I don't think he's really worried about it. I think Jet is just a great racer. As you've seen, he's gone 24-0. I mean, the kid just knows how to get a lead and maintain a lead. And those are the hardest guys to pass. You know, the guys like could go put it in and get a 5-second gap like a kitchen and then start to fade, and then he's easy to catch and blow his doors off. Like Jet just manages the race, and by the time Chase makes up the time, which he does pretty much every lap or one section and on every lap, by the time he gets there, he's going into his slower section, or he's gassed on that lap, or he makes a mistake. So I don't think it's just seeing the number 18. I think it's mostly just Jet's a great racer and he's hard to pass.
Do you think with Jet even being on record after that second round this last week and saying that this is kind of the first time that he felt kind of the endurance of being off the bike so much kind of come back to bite him a little bit, particularly in the second moto, and we kind of know that Hunter has some struggles in the second moto. Do you think that this whole second moto Chase deal that we saw so many times outdoors could be a factor, or would you say a bigger factor for this, not a factor, but the determining factor for who gets this overall and who gets this championship this next weekend at the finale? Or do you think it'll come down more to starts? Because if you think about the two times that Chase has really beat Jet straight up, he's gotten the start. And both of them have been when the Lawrences have gotten caught flinching and screwed their starts up. So, because that's what happened with the second moto. So if you were to put like one key for what will kind of make or break this race, and I think Chase really is the variable here. I think we kind of know what we're going to get from Hunter and Jet, barring some kind of accident of some sort. I think Chase is our variable. So what do you think is what moves the scale here? Do you think it's Chase's starts and just getting ahead of them? Or do you think it's his endurance and just being able to grind out that second moto and that way, even if he even doesn't get the best start, he will just have that much more speed on hopefully a more passable track.
Right. I think, man, once you condense these tracks down and you don't have a 200-yard start, I think the starts are a big deal. Like you said, I mean, especially if it's on a track that's difficult to pass or there's not too many option lines, like the start is going to win you the race. Now all you have to do is maintain your lead and maintain your pace. And all of these guys can do that. You know, now back to your question in Moto 2, who do I think can do it the best? If it were to, both of them were to have even starts, so Jet and Chase, I think Chase has got it all day. We've seen him do extra laps after a 30-minute moto. Granted, they were in the Midwest, so it was a little bit cooler, but
And AP was getting a beer after the race too. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think Chase is more fit just because of Jet's time off the bike, and I think maybe especially in Texas it was hot. I mean, these guys, it wore Jet out more than he was probably expecting, and like you said, what he said is that it kind of he didn't realize how unfit or how much he had lost with his time off. So. Man, I think it's kind of even either way you look at it. Jet's a better starter, more consistent starter, and Chase has been more consistently in shape.
Yeah, I agree. And I wonder why Hunter, especially after going through an outdoor season with, because we saw a drop off in Moto 2 at Charlotte too. It wasn't just like the heat was the main factor. He dropped off in Moto 2 in the first round too. I just wonder what's going on with him. And it could look, he's a rookie. Like I have to remind myself that, but he has such a veteran presence around him. You just wonder why he's still having these Moto 2 drop offs when you did all the rounds for MX. And, we saw a little bit of improvement with those second Moto drop offs. They were still there, but they were getting more minimal. And you would think when you take 10 minutes away from the moto length that second moto wouldn't be as big of a deal, but apparently so. So that'll be interesting to watch if he can hang in there second moto. I think other than Chase, Hunter also is the biggest variable here. And then Tomac, that's another one. When you get outside the top three, because he, it's not a winner take all for him. What chips need to fall? My guess is you would probably have to have like Hunter and with the triple points, you probably would need Hunter and Chase to finish third and fourth overall. That might get him over the hump. I mean, he's 21 points back, I believe. Double check this right here. Yeah, he's 21 points back. So I think that math would check out. 100% certain. But yeah, Tomac would need a couple of things to go his way, but who knows? I mean, we saw some craziness last year. I mean, last year we were
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, last year we were like a wheel throw down the inside away from Kenny winning this thing, and no one saw that coming. So, and at one point, Jordan Smith was, or was it Nate Thrasher that was leading the 250 overall standings out of nowhere last year?
Yeah.
Thrasher, I guess it was Thrasher. So that was wild. But speaking of the 250s, let's talk about them. Deegan has literally had a perfect playoff so far. Let's keep this conversation about him short. Do you think he gets it perfect or no?
I hope. I think.
Oh, like, now you're back on the side of Deegs?
Everybody has their feelings about him. He's not my favorite, but the kid's got it. I mean, every time I watch him ride, he's got like 3 times as much energy as anybody else on the track, and you see it in his riding. I mean, he's doing the big lines, or he's hanging it out there. He doesn't look tired. These guys sitting down through the straightaways. Deegan's standing up around the whole track, and the kid's fun to watch. So yeah, I want to watch it. I want to watch him win all of it, just sweep it.
And I want to see that as well, not just because of the fact that I am a fan of watching him ride, and he is one of my favorite 250 riders, but I would say my biggest reason for wanting him to have as much success as quickly as possible in the 250s, 2 words: Austin Forkner. I don't want to see that with any more of our best talents. You don't want to see that level of talent held back from the premier class because of just injury after injury after injury and crazy freak accident after crazy freak accident. Hoping Deegan can stay healthy, be there for all the rounds. And I think with his talent level, similar to an Austin Forkner, if he's there for all the rounds, you got a 90% chance of winning that thing. Indoors for Austin Forkner. He's not as good at outdoors, but Deegan, it's either one. Right. So I want to see him get to the premier class and just get out of there as soon as possible. Because I don't want a Forkner situation with someone as talented as Deegan. It's already been painful enough to watch Forkner go through this. Don't want to see that again. And I honestly just wish someone would just go ahead and put Forkner on the 450, just say screw it, whatever. But I don't make the rules here. But yeah, and then it's kind of like the rest of these guys were the misfit toys. Okay, Vial looked a lot better at Texas. He looked good. At one point, he was closing the gap on Deegan when he got to second. He was either Moto 1 or Moto 2. And then it just kind of was even for the rest of the back half of that moto.
Yeah.
And Kitchen had a great start. Was looking like he was about to throw a wheel down on Deegan, and then choked.
Yeah.
Went off course. Just
yeah.
I mean, it was like Flight 370 out there, just way off course.
Gone.
Never seen again. Yep, just disappeared. As Deegan put, he faded. But even before he started fading, he faded to the right, and he was supposed to go left. That's where the rhythm section was, and
wasn't it right before the triple? I think maybe he just got scared.
Yep.
He didn't want to do the triple. It was a little big.
I almost wonder if he got maybe a little bit like out of balance of some sort coming off of that over under, because that's where we saw Master Pool have.
Yeah, that thing was so off cambered. It was like, I mean, your lean angle, you could not, if you were straight up hitting that thing, you're going to the stands.
Yeah, I mean, and once again, terrible dirt. So, I mean, that it was basically ice coming down that thing, especially at that angle, like you talked about. Yeah. I mean, the MotoGP guys would have felt right at home. You know, you just lean that thing over, pop a leg out, drop a knee. But MX guys, no, we ain't doing that. But yeah, so I mean, Deegan can get second overall even with the triple points and still win. So we don't have a winner take all scenario here. So given that some kind of craziness with Deegan happens, and that could be as crazy as so much he gets a third. That's what's crazy about the triple points format is if you just get a third in the first moto, that opens up the door, or a fourth definitely opens the door. Honestly, look at anyone on this list. Vial, Kitchen, Shimoda, Beaumer, Jordan Smith, and then after that, it's kind of a massive drop off. But any of them, but just don't look past 6. But any of the guys, which of these guys do you feel like could give Deegan any kind of a run for his money going into this, barring some kind of crazy accident?
Kitchen. I think, that's really the only guy besides Vial that I've seen past Deegan. It's like,
yeah.
So, Beaumer, good for him, man. He's having a good tail end of the rest of his year. It started out rough and outdoors, going OTB and eating a mud sandwich. But, I think it's good for him. A massive improvement. I think really to beat Deegan, I don't think anybody can beat him straight up. I think Deegan's going to have to get a bad start and not climb all the way. Yeah, he's just got to get a good start, and you can't beat him. It doesn't seem like so. But Kitchen, I think, has the best odds.
I agree, especially if he can get a gap early. And it has to be a considerable gap because Deegan said it at Paula, and we were like, really? Does he? And he does fade currently. Yeah. I don't know why, because we didn't really see any of that indoors. So you would think when you get back to a Supercross style layout and you're doing 20 minutes, why is he still fading? But I don't know.
We'll have to see.
I don't get paid enough or at all to know that. Beaumer's been an awesome wild card to watch. He was awesome at Charlotte. It was awesome to see him on the podium. And to think a week after this weekend, he'll probably be competing for the world championship in jet ski racing as well. So the dude will be just going back to back in world championships.
That's cool.
Dual sport athletes, baby. But other than that, dude, you've got some guys on this list that could have like a one-off race of just like they just go crazy. It could be like a Jordan Smith, and then other than that, Nate Thrasher is out, I believe, from the crashes. Has eaten it hard back-to-back rounds. We already mentioned RJ's out. Shimoda's still racing with a plate in his collarbone, so I don't know how hard he wants to send it, because if you wreck that sucker with the plate in after just getting it put in 4 weeks ago, then you're looking at some complete struggle, non-integrity, for lack of finding the right word for that, lack of integrity in that structural integrity in that bone at that point. But he's got the balls to still do it anyways. But I just don't know. I think to try to beat any of the guys in the top 3 here, if you're Shimoda, you're gonna have to send it to a degree that he's not gonna want to do with a plate in him right now. But glad he's out there. Yeah, I don't think there's that much else to talk about. Now it's just, get you boots on the ground over there, eyewitness. Take some pictures with the Lawrence brothers. Go find Gypsy. He's always at the factory fan zone. I mean, literally every single time I've gone to the races this year, I'll walk by and, Gypsy's just chilling over at the fan zone. Even if there's no one there, he's just chilling there. I'm like,
you mean Gypsy Tales, like Jace?
Yeah. Jace is the first name. Everyone just goes. People will just walk by, Gypsy all the time. Like nobody calls him by his first name when I've watched people call him out. They're just like, I don't even know his name, but I'm just gonna say Gypsy, or they'll say Gypsy Gang.
Right.
He's always been at the fan zone there, so you may get to meet him too.
That'd be sweet.
And who's doing the track walk for you? I heard Adam C. and Sorello did it for the VIP last week. Is it the Lawrence's doing it, or is it?
I think it's just all one big group. So a lot of these different manufacturers have their own package. So like the Lawrence brothers have their ticket package or their experience. Yamaha Star Racing has theirs. There's a couple other ones, but they all include different stuff, but they all of them do include the track walk. So, at Supercross, when you get there at 11, and then you do as one big group. I think you go out separate from the riders. But yeah, I think somewhere earlier in the morning, earlier in the day.
Well, I would pay an ungodly amount of money to do a track walk with Club MX, to just listen to Phil complain about the track all the way up and down. Shout out him. This is gonna be his last race.
I know.
Last race weekend. Are you going to the Huddle Brewery thing that they're doing for him after the race, or?
No, I didn't even hear about that.
Okay, so they've been talking about this on Pulp for the last month or two. They're doing a goodbye party for him. They're actually doing 2, one Saturday night and one Sunday night. But it's at Huddle Brewery. You can buy a ticket,
really?
And it's unlimited drinks, unlimited food. They have snacks and stuff there, and a bunch of the pros are going to be there. And it's a retirement party for Phil. But yeah,
that's dope.
Shout out Phil. It's been awesome getting to watch him ride, and it's been even more hilarious to listen to him on Pulp MX complain and just roast people. And the dude is they call him Filthy Phil for a reason. Yep, he's hilarious. So, all right, well, thank you guys for listening to us. We'll be back with a kind of season review pod probably in 2 weeks or so. Just seeing what other little silly season stuff we hear in regards to next year, and see the aftermath of this finale. And like I said, for the second round in a row, we're going to have boots on the ground with Alec over there. And let's see what happens. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.